Joan Biskupic, right, has written a new book, American Original, The Life and Constitution of Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia, and she joins us now. Why did you choose him as a subject for a book?
Well, Sharyl, he'd always been so interesting and colorful a figure, and probably one of the 9 justices who, American people know best. But people didn't realize how much his trajectory had changed, how much power he had been getting through the years, especially with the additions of Chief Justice John Roberts and Associate Justice Samuel Alito. Justice Scalia essentially went from being a lone dissenter, someone who had his say in very fiery dissents, to someone who's now writing important majority opinions, such as the 2008 majority ruling in the D.C. guns case that said for the first time that there's a Second Amendment individual right to bear arms. So I started intrigued by him as a figure, but realized that he was becoming more and more powerful, and I thought his story was worth telling.
Justice Scalia, like many subjects of biographies, was initially wary of doing interviews with you. How did you get to him, and how did you convince him?
That's a good question, because he initially said, look, go talk to my colleagues, talk to my family, talk to former clerks. But I don't want to talk to you. I don't want this to appear authorized. And I said, this is not going to appear authorized. But what happened was I started going to him with information that I had about his family through archives, through presidential and judicial libraries, where he got a little bit curious. You probably remember, but many of your viewers might not, that he started in this town with the Nixon administration. And I was able to find some interesting documents of his time there for President Nixon and President Ford. And I think over the course of many weeks and months and even years of dealing with Justice Scalia, he realized that he was interested in what I was finding, and then ended up sitting for about a dozen on-the-record interviews.
The word that you and others often use to describe him is colorful. For those who don't know him so well, what are some of the things that make him be seen as colorful?
He's colorful and combative, too. Yeah, what he is, he's got this sort of in-your-face style, both in his prose, which is incredibly vivid. Out of all the justices, he's the one whose writing is most distinctive in terms of its style. He can invoke allusions from Leonard Bernstein's West Side Story to Shakespeare's Henry IV. He just has a great facility with language, both in his written opinions and then from the bench. And from the bench, Sharyl, what distinguishes him is that he tends to be quite confrontational with the lawyers at the lectern. He's also someone who, just can't really help himself to say certain things that others might find completely politically incorrect, and take jabs at his fellow colleagues. In fact, as you probably know, we're all awaiting a big campaign finance case, and in a campaign finance case about 2.5 years ago, he accused Chief Justice John Roberts, who was on his side, of faux judicial restraint. So he has a way of really getting at his targets and writing memorable things for readers and followers of the law.
And you discovered he views himself as a likable, kind of easy to get along with guy.
Right.
If you had to pick one thing of all the things that influenced him into becoming the person he is today from his early life, what would you think that is?
Well, I think, growing up in a first-generation Italian-American family, and here's a guy who he was an only child of 2 striving Italian-American immigrants, but also the only offspring of his generation of these 2 large clans. And as you might know, he went on to have 9 children of his own, but he was often the center of attention in this, you know how striving a first-generation family could be, a Roman Catholic family up in Trenton, New Jersey, and then spent more of his childhood in Queens, New York. So I think influenced by his immigrant story, his Catholicism, and frankly his time up in New York. He loved Queens. He considers himself more a native of Queens than Trenton where he was born.
In our final moments, in terms of his greatest regrets and what he sees as his greatest achievements, can you name 1 or 2 for us?
Oh, sure. First of all, the man does not articulate any regrets. I think some of the other justices, including my earlier subject, Sandra Day O'Connor, probably do have some regrets about things that they've said and written over the years, but Justice Scalia will not allow that at all. I think he's the kind of person who believes that what he was doing from the start is completely right today in terms of the law. And I think his influence over time will be both in terms of his philosophy, that you should reach back and look at what the drafters of the Constitution in the 18th century thought. He's really become the main face and voice of that originalism point of view. That will carry on at least through the law schools and through young lawyers. Not not with the court in terms of a majority. It's too radically to the right. But as I said, he's gotten more powerful through the years. That's for sure.
Well, as we close, I will disclose a regret that you discovered from way back in his years, and people can read more of your book if they want to know more. But you said as a young boy he failed the entrance exam to a prestigious high school, and 6 decades later is still kicking himself over a question he got wrong.
That's so true. When we're in the season now of kids applying to colleges and high schools, yes, he didn't get into Regis, but he got into Xavier, which is also in Manhattan, Sharyl.
Joan Biskupic, thank you so much. We'll look for the book.
Thank you.